Good morning, everybody. I'm Heather Wheeler, co-founder of the crazycouponlady.com, and happy to be here to kind of lead this panel. I'm wondering, Brian, if we can start with you and just go through some introductions. Is that okay?
Sure. Hi, everyone. There's some great seats right up here, front row, if you want them. We won't bite, we promise.
Brian has candy.
Oh.
So if you want to come take this front row, that's right.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Brian Camen. I work at Ferrara Candy Company. Some of those brands include Trolley, Nerds, Sweet Tarts, Brock's, Lemonhead, Laffy Taffy, list goes on and on. Been with Ferrara for the last 5 years. Work across all things content and public relations across the portfolio. Before that, 10 years in the agency space.
Well, I didn't bring candy, and I didn't bring my grill. So I work at Johnsonville. My name is Erik Falck. I work at Johnsonville Sausage up in Wisconsin. I'm the director of our innovation group across the U.S. portfolio. I also lead our emerging snacking business, and I coach our small but mighty design team. Been with Johnsonville for a little over 5 years. Before that, I was with the Hershey Company for about 4 years, and I started my career at Johnson & Johnson in the consumer brands. I was there for about 10 years. Really looking forward to this panel. Thanks for having me.
And Damian Chatman with PepsiCo. I work on our beverages portfolio within our North Division, which is one of our 4 divisions within the U.S. Currently, my team is responsible for covering all of our sports assets within our North Division, local brand activation, and we're working with our local bottlers as well as in their marketing strategies. So I've been with Pepsi about going on 5 years, and before that, I was with P&G for about 6 years working in our home care division on dish soap.
Amazing. Okay, well, let's kick it off. Brian, my first question is for you. We'd love to hear how Ferrara is deepening brand love for its iconic candy brands.
Great question. And I don't know about you guys, but I was really inspired with Jess and Megan this morning, very envious of them. In addition to our annual planning at Ferrara, we have a program called Sugar Rush. And don't tell anyone this, but it's my favorite thing that I do. Sugar Rush is our way of listening and identifying opportunities to embed our brands in culture. And we do it often, every single day. And an example of Sugar Rush would be a few months ago, an athletic trainer for the Rice University football team was spotted on the sidelines giving out gummy worms to his players during the game. Some of you might have seen this. Obviously, working in sugar confectionery, we knew that those were Trolley gummy worms. That was on a Saturday. By Monday, we had a CTA out looking for this athletic trainer who was dubbed the gummy worm guy, got in touch with him, and by the following Saturday, Rice University, we had we had shipped down gummy worms for the entire student section. We had outfitted the gummy worm guy in Trolley gear, and we had a live segment on ESPN in-game, as well as Sports Illustrated covered it in both print and online, all within a matter of 5 days, all earned, no dime, no dollar paid whatsoever besides the swag that we sent the gentleman. So that's an example of how we embed our brands in culture, and I love what we do across the portfolio. I'd say there is probably about 1,000 mentions of our brands in culture on an annual basis, and it results in about $3 million of earned media value every single year. So it's a lot of fun to work on.
Can you talk to us for just a second? Because my brain is trying to understand, and similar when the Heinz folks were talking about the Simply Ranch, but like, what does that week look like? When you see something and you're like, we have to move.
Yeah, that week looks like you had a plan of what you were going to work on, and now it's completely changed. So fortunate, we have a great team at Ferrara who works across the portfolio, and we ran with it, both from a content standpoint, a public relations standpoint. You know, we move fast, and We ask for permission after the fact or along the way, depending on the opportunity.
That's awesome. Okay, Erik, let's take it to you. First of all, I love your title. I think it's so cool. Director of Innovation, Snacking, and Design. Like
All the fun stuff.
all the fun stuff. Okay, so from studying engineering before you entered the CPG realm and then through marketing innovation roles, like you said, at Johnson & Johnson to Hershey's and now Johnsonville Sausage, how have these diverse experiences informed your approach to innovation?
Sure. So I have worked across a lot of different categories. I think depending on how you count it, like it's like 11 now.
But chocolate's your favorite, obviously. Right?
I do love chocolate, but sausage is pretty good. Actually, you know, when I left Hershey, I thought, you know, nothing is going to beat the chocolate tastings at work. Sausage tastings are pretty close. They're pretty close. It's neck and neck. Anyway, the answer to that question is it's really important to listen to the consumer. Little over 20 years, but 11 different categories. You've got to listen to the consumer and get up to speed really quickly. And I think the most formative experience for me with that was actually my first brand assignment. So I'm finishing up actually midway through my MBA program at Cornell, and I get that letter that you really hope to get for your first brand assignment, and it was at J&J, and it was for a feminine hygiene brand, and I was terrified. I was like, I don't know anything about this. Even the way the brand was described, I didn't understand, and it couldn't have been a better experience. It was perfect, because what you're supposed to do as a good brand marketer is you're supposed to listen to the consumer, and in my first role, I was forced to listen. I couldn't bring my own biases or experience with the product to the table. I had no choice but to listen, and of course we all do that, and we all strive to do that, but the advantage of being forced to do that was really beneficial. And there are commonalities across categories, and you start to see those patterns too. But there are differences, and you really got to get those insights to understand, market, and innovate.
Awesome. Okay, Damian. So with your journey from Procter & Gamble to taking on a significant role at PepsiCo, what key lessons have you learned, and how have they shaped your approach to leadership within the beverage industry?
Great. Well, Ryan hit on one of them. The first one is starting with the consumer. So I think every marketer here knows that. I think the challenge is actually implementing it day in, day out, and really becoming a core of who you are, and as you go through your day-to-day, because we have lots of meetings, lots of other influences, a lot of other functions that want to have different points of view. So it's doing that day in and day out, but also being the voice of the consumer in the room, because that is our job as marketers, is to be that voice and to make sure that we are, the change we're making, the product innovations we're rolling out, they always have the consumer at the forefront, and we have to be brave enough to stand up in those rooms and say, this is not the best thing for the consumer, or what is the right thing for the consumer. And also out on that is being a consumer. We're all consumers. We all consume product, media, attention. So be a consumer. What caught your eye when you're going through your day-to-day life? One thing I do with my team every week is I just ask them, what did you find interesting during our team meeting, like throughout the week? Bring an interesting thing you found. It could be related to our categories. It could be not, whether it be you were scrolling through social media, in the store. What stopped you and made you go, oh, and just kind of have an oh moment. And then what about it? And then bringing those things to your work, and it's like, why did I stop? What caught my eye, and how was that great marketing working out? So that's one. And the other one is not as fun, but I think it's really important as marketers is when you're coming in, know your business, and know the fundamentals of it. How do you make money? How does this business make money? What are the products that are the most valuable? What are your key customers? What are your key categories? And so, because when you're having those discussions, when you're in those rooms and you're trying to be the voice of the consumer, when you can bring all that together and still be able to speak to the business, that's when you start to unlock different motivations and get people around the room to be able to get behind the ideas. And the last one I would say is, I think reach is still king. So we have a lot of great ideas, but if you don't have the right money behind them, or the right plans behind them, and getting the consumers, you're really just talking to yourself. And so how do we make sure that even if we have good ideas, that we have the right plan to actually get it out in front of the consumer? Because otherwise, all that execution and all that strategy doesn't matter if the execution isn't there.
Awesome. All right, Brian. So Nerds was in the Super Bowl this year. What sparked that decision, and what deeper vision guided the choice to collaborate with Addison Rae for the ads concept?
Good question. Has anyone in this room ever had a Nerds gummy cluster?
Oh
They're
my
amazing.
gosh.
Yes.
It's like literally my favorite candy. I told you this already.
I
but-
know. They're really good. So Nerds they're having a moment. They're having more than a moment. It's an incredible growth story. Nerds went from 50 million to 500 million in retail sales in 5 years. Now is the time. So if we want to be a leader in global sugar confectionery, we need to act like a leader. And that's what we did with our first foray or debut into the Super Bowl. Working with Addison Rae was amazing. Her audience lined up perfectly with who we are trying to go after. And guess what? We found Addison Rae through our Sugar Rush program. We had identified her years ago as a lover of Nerds and Nerds gummy clusters. So who better to take us to the Super Bowl to make her debut and our debut together? We took a cross-generational approach to the Super Bowl. We had the thematic of Flashdance paired with an icon of Gen Z. Addison is not just a TikToker. Addison is an actress, singer, and dancer, and most of all, a real brand fan. She was on every single creative call. She had a lot of creative control over our executions with her, and she was consuming the product nonstop on set. It was awesome. Yeah, it was a great experience working with her, and it was a great experience debuting the brand in the Super Bowl.
That's awesome. All right, Erik, with your roles in developing successful new products from Reese's Lovers, Johnsonville Double Better with Cheddar, and Summer Sausage Snack Sticks, could you share your thoughts about how consumer insights, marketing, and innovation work together to win with consumers?
Sure. So I think it all starts with the insights. Again, that's a bit of a theme, but I'm going to say something sounds a little bit the opposite of what I said in the first question about needing to go really deep on those insights quickly. Another thing to do for marketing and innovation is to look for some of those common truths about categories and consumers. They're not universal, but they're kind of always there. So think, for very popular products, say like Reese's or Johnsonville, Better with Cheddar, both of those, with the Reese's Lovers is more chocolate, more peanut butter. The Johnsonville Double Better with Cheddar is just like it sounds, it's double. It's like Oreo double stuff, right? Like there's just sometimes in categories, people love a product for a reason, and more is better. And good consumer research can confirm that, but knocking on that door as a marketer and an innovator, I think is just a smart thing to do when you're kind of in a new product or brand category. So there's commonalities. Another one is portability and on the go. Our lives are lived in part on the go. That's pretty universal, and they're getting more on the go. So portable on-the-go versions of products are a really common thing. So Johnsonville's Summer Sausage Snack Sticks. Summer Sausage, we're in the Midwest here, so I'm sure there's plenty of familiarity with Summer Sausage. But the snack sticks are basically an on-the-go version, so that you can kind of snack on it any time instead of only at parties, which is typically where it's consumed. But even I worked on Benadryl topicals, like the anti-itch product. And one of our best-selling new products was a little portable keychain spray. Who would think in OTC medicines, even on the go is important there. So I would say look for those commonalities, those kind of not quite universal but almost universal truths that are impacting all of us and affect all the categories that we participate in.
Awesome. Damian, how do partnerships and collaborations with major events contribute to enhancing brand visibility and engaging diverse audience across PepsiCo's portfolio?
Yeah, that's a great question. we talked a lot. I mean, a lot of conversations today have been around brand love, and so it's also brand love for you, but also brand love for brands that are adjacent and that fit with your category. So we do a lot of partnerships, a lot of sports and athletes because of that, and being able to leverage the love that people have and affiliation for those brands and athletes that are great. So one example I'll give you is we talked a lot about Taylor Swift earlier, and so we looked at Taylor Swift and Barbie were probably two of the biggest things that happened last year. Well, we looked at our upstate New York market and talked to the adults in that market, and about 20% of them would say they saw the Barbie movie or even care about going to see it. 35% of them said they were Swifties and at least admitted to it. But 77% of those adults in that market are Buffalo Bills fans. And so to us, that just says like where we should put our energy is behind the Buffalo Bills and that opportunity and things with and key athletes around there, like such as Josh Allen. So through partnerships with our national team, we partnered. We have a longstanding deal with the Bills that we work through, but also looking at an opportunity, how do we amplify and extract the value from that? And so we worked with Josh Allen last year to create this opportunity called Buffalo Pepsi, which some people may have heard about it, but the idea was similar to what we did with Lindsay Lohan with Pilk, and it was mixing Pepsi with buffalo sauce. Now, people in the room might go, probably not, I don't think so.
Interesting choice.
Interesting choice, exactly. We said the same thing, but this is where it comes back to knowing your consumer and knowing your market. And so we did a sort of manufactured moment with Josh Allen where he got caught mixing buffalo sauce with his Pepsi, kind of did the PR moment, but that was just a small part of it. It's then how do you take that and then create the share, the displays, and partner with retailers. So we not only partner with the key retailer in that market, Wegmans, to bring that Buffalo Pepsi to shoppers in that market, which got us some incremental displays. We also did sampling there, but then also brought it to a Buffalo Bills game. We took over and did a big tailgate where consumers could try and taste Buffalo Pepsi and take pictures and have a good time. And so it's polarizing. It's a thing that creates conversation. It's a thing that, and so you have the Bills Mafia, which is what they call the fans for the Buffalo Bills, and who are a very, very energetic fan base, to say the least. And so it's, people who love it, people who, obviously turn up their nose, which I saw a few noses turned up here, or even when I mentioned it. But it's getting inside of that and find that brand love and putting your brand in position to piggyback off of that, but also be a part of those moments, because we want to be that one of our campaigns is better with Pepsi. And so we want everything to be better with Pepsi, whether it be food, whether it be tailgating. We want to become a part of the ritual that is your tailgating experience, that is your Indy 500 experience, whatever it is, that we can play our role in there.
That's awesome. I have to try that.
Yeah.
Can you get it outside of upstate New York?
You can get it. It's not. That's the benefit of it. It wasn't a pre-mixed thing. It was a mix. We have a recipe card, and then it also went on to become an item that was served at the bars within the Bill Stadium for the rest of the season, because the Buffalo fans loved it so much. And some of the feedback we got was like, "This is the most Buffalo thing ever," which is great. And so pairs well with buffalo wings, and it's great. So just a little Pepsi Zero Sugar, I think, is best with it. A little bit of the buffalo, and then you garnish with the celery. So.
All right, I'm going to follow up with you about
and
this.
And then after hours, throw a little vodka in it.
Okay, we're going to do a speed round. I have one more question for each of you, and then we'll open it up to questions, if that works. Brian, tell us, I want to talk about TikTok. I'm sure that's something that you guys are using. What strategies have been working best for you, and what excites you most about these spaces with like influencer marketing, and how are you using them to drive growth at Ferrara?
Yeah, so great question. I think we could probably spend an hour talking about TikTok, especially after this week. I'm not going to go into it. We use TikTok across the portfolio. Sweet Tarts was one of the first brands to have an always-on presence on the platform back in 2020. We've seen incredible growth. Our target audience is there. But when you ask about how we're really honing in on our audience with influencers and what works best for us, we've centralized our influencer partners, vendors, to and I'll just say it out loud, Influential and Linkia. I know Linkia is here in the room. They're great partners. We love working with them, so highly recommend them. We segment our influencer approach into 3 different categories. One, brand fans. That's our Sugar Rush program that we talked about already. 2, paid campaign storytellers. Those are the storytellers who, as part of larger campaigns, are spreading word of mouth. And 3, content co-creators. What works best for us is when we move consumers from the first bucket, which was authentic brand fans. Ooh, I said authentic, sorry. Real brand fans to 2, paid campaign storytellers. Hands down, that works better than anything else. We saw it with Addison Rae. We're seeing it with now Caleb Williams and Trolley, and there's a lot more examples from the past. So anytime you can take a consumer who happens to have a lot of clout and turn them into a brand ambassador, it works. It works well.
Okay, Erik, can you discuss the important role and limits that leveraging consumer insights has had for your approach to innovation?
Sure. So there are so many great tools, and I'm sure many of us have used many of them, like segmentations and CLTs and all of that. But they each kind of have their purposes and limitations, and I've been fortunate to work with some really awesome market researchers, including my research partner at Johnsonville now. One thing I will say, though, is for innovation, I think it's really important to use jobs theory. Segmentations are great, but jobs theory, instead of starting with a person and their attitudes, it starts with the circumstance of struggle and the progress that they're trying to make. And that's so much more relevant for innovation, and I think it's just so much more real for, I mean, think about your own lives, right? I mean, are you sometimes somebody who loves to have a relaxed breakfast on a weekend? And are you also somebody who, got home an hour later than you planned and are scrambling to get dinner on the table for the family? Yeah, I've been in both those situations. I mean, what segment am I in, right? So segments, I think, are terrific for, particularly for marketing when you're trying to reach somebody. But when you're trying to design a product, I would say use jobs theory. Try to understand the hiring and firing criteria for products in that situation, and build your solutions around that.
Love that. Okay, Damian, we have to talk about the lemon lime soda category. It's witnessing a lot of growth right now. What innovative strategies are you implementing in the second year to maintain this momentum with Starry?
Yeah, so it's a great question. There's a lot. Yes, lemon lime category is growing. It's permissible, as people would say, as far as people trying to drink more healthy. It's clear. Again, knowing your consumer, it's not a health drink, but listen, people are shifting to more lemon lime sodas. So what we're doing, Starry's still young. Part of knowing your consumer, knowing your business, we know we have a really formidable competitor. And they have a long head start and a lot of equity in that category. So a lot of it right now is still driving awareness, still getting people to try it, so people can get a switch. And so that's been a big focus of our national team, as you saw with the Super Bowl, and I spiced in that campaign, it's time to see other sodas, and getting people to, break up with that, the lemon lime soda that they've been used to for probably most of their life, if not their entire life. And so that's a big piece of it. But then layering on top of that is bringing into All-Star Weekend in February in Indy. We took over Indianapolis with Starry from before even All-Star, so probably beginning of the year, and taking that one moment in time where we have the three-point contest and taking that into the market, doing incremental displays with our C&G partners, finding different ways to drive excitement for the All-Star game coming, the whole time leading up to it. Taking over the airport. So some people may have seen that the Indianapolis airport went viral for them putting up a basketball court in it. I'd love to say that I knew that was going to happen and I planned for it, but what I did know was that there's only one major airport in Indianapolis, and it's pretty small, and everyone has to pretty much go through one space. And so we took over. I said, I want to own this escalator space, and almost every single person that comes to the airport has to go down, because there's going to be people coming from all over, coming in town for this moment. So we took over the airport space, we took over downtown, and partnered with a lot of our food service customers, continued to driving Starry, and then we probably gave away more samples of Starry than I can count. Every street I walked down, there were boxes in the trash of Starry boxes from all the samples the team we had. And so that's going to be a big moment for the beginning of the year, and for the rest of the year, continuing to drive that, to just drive awareness, getting people to try it, getting people out of that habit of going in and mindlessly buying our competitor, and starting to know that there's another great, better tasting soda out there for the lemon lime needs.
That's incredible. Awesome. Well, I think, do we have some time for questions? Great. Anybody?
Thank you. Thinking about Gen Z, I think you all touched on Gen Z, right, and really like the big focus for brands and where you can drive the next really era of growth. When thinking about Gen Z, we look at the data. It's about 40% diverse, right, multicultural, with a lot of the segment being driven by Hispanic audiences, Black audiences, Asian American. How have you adapted either your strategy and product innovation, media strategy, content strategy to be more inclusive of these audiences? Or do you have any examples that you can share where you've seen sort of like a uniquely multicultural insight that then you've been able to scale through the rest of your strategy?
Anyone want to take that?
So I'll talk to some of. So for us, there's a couple of things. One, it's who you work with. So we've been looking for more diverse agencies, more diverse talent, and just being represented, like having representation. And so that is one. We talked about Starry. The launch of Starry was a very focused Gen Z effort, and so that team partnered with a lot of agencies that were really focused and really had a specialty in how do you reach and communicate and be authentic with that audience. And so that was a big part of it. It's just like, sorry, sometimes your traditional go-tos are not the right ones for the way maybe they're thinking, and you may have to try to find other partners to work with to get to unlock the right insights and the right work to get there.
Yeah, I'd say Trolley is one of our brands that over-indexes in the Hispanic market. We are running activations, have been for a few years now, that are through Hispanic media, and we are now looking at our overarching media plan and how we ensure that we are including total market. So we're not just, when we're running a gaming program, we are ensuring that it's representative of everyone who is consuming the product and then where they are consuming the media as well.
At Johnsonville, started as predominantly bratwurst, so kind of a German, Austrian type of cuisine. But sausage is consumed by, not universal, but almost all around the world. And so we've been, over the decades, we've been expanding the types of cuisine that have influenced our products over the years. I think it's sausage is nice because it does have a universalness to it in that regard.
Yeah, and I would just say one.
Yeah, that's going to make it a lot easier to get questions. I think we've got one more here.
Especially relevant right now with Expo West going on. We're seeing a lot of emerging products, Gen Z, very open to niche markets, chomps, poppy, those types of products. How much time do you spend from an innovation perspective looking at those niche areas and as big brands, correct, but going up against meeting those needs within a market?
The short answer is time. So I don't specifically work on our innovation needs, but I know that we spend a ton of time working and looking at those categories. So again, following the consumer, where the consumer's going, shifting our overall categories. So it's not just from a niche brand of like, do we need to create something different, or how do we compete with that? But it's like, what's within your current portfolio, and do you have the right brands within your portfolio now to meet those needs? And if so, then maybe it's shifting your mix of media, maybe it's shifting your mix of the conversation to more of those brands. So you'll see from us a lot more push behind zero sugar products. So Pepsi zero sugar, Wild Cherry zero sugar, Dude zero sugar, Starry zero sugar. So those type of things, because we know that's where the consumer is going, and those products are growing. So from everywhere from the media we put behind and what brands we put up front to also how we're shelving in stores is becoming more like how do we drive and put more of the categories and the brands that and the variants that consumers are shifting to in the right place. Now, if you come to find like you don't have the right brand or the right product in your portfolio now that meets that consumer need, that's where it comes to innovation, and we spend a ton of time looking at that and figuring out what is the right innovation, what is the right approach to meeting that consumer need, and how big is it.
Well, how about a round of applause for the panels here? I thought this was